to the Orange Flag podcast. We did the double better than Kyle Larson. And also stay all the way to the end of the episode for a very special spotter stand with a spotter. I'm Nicole.
I'm Auston.
I'm Aries.
I think everyone knows it was the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 this weekend, but it was also the qualifier races for the Nürburgring 24 Hours, which, of course, we're starting with. Good job, Porsche.
Yes.
Lawrence Vantor won both races. Good job, Lawrence. Kevin Estre was on the podium both times, and then Alessio Piccarello and Julian Andlauer were on the podium for the second race.
Yes.
So, covering our bases with our Porsche guys.
Bases are very well covered, and well done them.
Yes, and Bestie was on the podium.
Yes.
But
yes, our dinner bestie, but also Morgan's bestie. Two different people.
Yes, two different besties, actually, now that we think about it. Didn't even think about that.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like another cool thing that happened in the qualifiers, for me, in my opinion, was Mercedes. They let their drivers design their liveries. They had a competition between their cars. And whoever got the top votes amongst their drivers of the remote control cars they designed became their livery for the qualifiers. So Ralph Aaron's car won. So they got their design they created on their actual car, which is pretty interesting.
I don't pay attention to Mercedes, so I didn't even know that was a thing.
I mean, yeah, one of your favorite guys drives for Mercedes, so of course you're going to be paying attention to them.
I knew you were going to say that.
Of course I would.
He's not.
During the party.
But, yes, the Indy 500 was yesterday, Sunday. I went, so that was a lot of fun. Figured I would share some of my stories about what happened when I was there. So we'll start with Carb Day, which is Friday. I wore a Kiffin Simpson fit, and it really confused Oz in some photos that were posted on the internet. But Kiffin liked it, so that's what really mattered.
Okay, but in my defense, you wearing a neon pink skirt was the last thing I ever expected to see you wear.
Neon pink is one of Kiffin's colors.
I know, but you just don't strike me as a person who's gonna show up in a bright pink tennis skirt. And so when I saw this photo of you in a bright pink tennis skirt, I was like,
chasing
what?
Alex Palou?
Yeah.
I was actually walking with him. It looks like I'm chasing him, but I'm actually walking with him because he needed to go out to the pit stop competition. And I was talking to him, but yeah, I had on a full Kiffin Simpson fit.
Also, just
now I have a new Kiffin Simpson fit because I got this hoodie.
But we've had numerous conversations about how as a ginger you don't wear the warmer toned bright colors.
Yeah, but it was down by my legs. It wasn't up here. Up here was a nice blue, which is a good color for me. My legs are leg color.
Off.
They're not hair color. Now I'm just thinking what Scott would look like in Kiffin's race suit and whether that would work with his coloring.
Well, Scott,
somebody
if you're listening to us, do this in Detroit. We are really curious.
Or someone photoshopped this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or someone just photoshopped it.
I think that's a bit easier.
Yeah, than trying to make Scott wear Kiffin's race suit.
Yeah,
outfit swap.
It's not. They're not Fred Vesti and Earl Bamber.
Yeah,
they're not going to share clothes.
No, I feel like proportions also.
Are Fred and Earl at all the same proportions?
No, which is why that's also weird.
But I feel like that should be drinking game because we got distracted by sports cars, even though it wasn't Penske.
I'll allow it.
My cup is out of reach.
But speaking of Penske and drinking, Will Power, when he came back from the pit stop competition, caught a beer can from a fan, signed it, and threw it back to the fan. So there was a fan up on the second level balcony, and they threw this empty beer can down to him to sign. And then Will, like, perfectly lobbed it back up. Like, normally when you see drivers try to throw stuff up to, like, the second row balcony, they kind of struggle. No struggle from Will.
So how do we think willpower would be in a game of Frisbee?
You read my mind. I was thinking about it.
I think Will is better at throwing than Kevin.
Okay.
So there's that. Sorry, Kevin. Just based on things we have seen.
Yeah.
Will's ability to toss a beer can back up to a second story, like almost third story balcony was impressive.
Oh yeah. That was just my thought, was, Penske's throwing things. Game of Frisbee.
I feel like we need to just, like, get Penske to bring back Penske games and have there be a dunk tank and have them all do a dunk tank. And we'll see who is most, I don't know, athletic or something. Who do we think of all of them would be best at doing a dunk tank?
I don't know why, but Tandy?
No, see, I think it's going to be one of the Americans. Because I think all of them know how to throw a baseball.
Oh, no, but I'm saying...
So, like, I feel like Blaney is, like, cleaning up in this competition.
See, I forgot about NASCAR, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You out of all
I'm just
people?
saying, I'm giving this...
I know, bad.
...to Ryan Blaney. Dunk tank competition, champion.
Yeah,
Ryan
I feel
Blaney.
like if we're including all of them...
We're just becoming a Penske podcast now.
How did we end up
it's
here?
It's not PPM anymore. We have now gone sidetracked with just
spectrum.
Penske as an organization.
No.
This is a plot twist.
I don't like this plot twist.
Unforeseen circumstances. Help.
Yes.
Oh dear.
But for Scotty Mac's line, that's for the next day of stories, though.
Yes.
I guess back to Carb Day stories. So, I amassed a small following of random fans that wanted to learn how to take pictures with drivers because I'm good at that, and people picked up on that fact, and that was kind of weird. But there were, like, people I already had pictures with from, like, earlier in the day, and I'm like, okay, hey, you, go there, and then go over here, and, like, Caroline, who I was, like, wandering around with most of the day, as I said on Twitter, I was going to force her to meet Pato. I literally dragged her over to Pato and was like, go! And she did. She met Pato, she got a picture. So, like, yes, I, in fact, apparently give, how to meet driver lessons now. If you're gonna be in Detroit, I guess I can do that.
You know what? I think I'm gonna subscribe to your little course.
Are you coming to Coda?
If I can smuggle myself into Felipe Nasser's.
Well, Felipe Nasser's not doing that race, so it would have to be petite. You'll come in Felipe Nasser's suitcase for petite.
For petite.
Unless for some reason Felipe Nasser's coming to Coda. Then
I don't know why he would be. I mean, maybe to support the team?
Yeah. You never know.
I think that makes sense.
I mean, speaking of people who were there to support the team at Coda last year, people may remember my story that I've told many a time about how I really wanted to get a picture with Brendan Hartley and, like, didn't not get a picture with Brendan Hartley because Simon Pagenaud walked by. Well, this time, there was nobody I was trying to get a picture with when Simon Pagenaud scootered by. So I got a picture with him. So that has been corrected. He was actually riding a scooter, balancing an iPad on the handlebars, and to me that was, like, really great to see because, you know, there's a lot of people that still have questions about his recovery because he's understandably being private about it.
As he should.
That's sort of motor skill is good to see, though.
I miss Simon.
Yeah.
I think we all do.
He's very nice, too. Are we shocked that I think a French person's
I
nice?
was gonna say.
And then I don't know that I've ever really told this story before, but way back when I was a youth and was getting pictures with F1 drivers like back in the early 2000s at IMS, F1 drivers would sometimes say like, "Oh yeah, I'll take a picture with you. A picture's easier than an autograph." Like just cuz it's easier for them. They just stand there. Danny Sullivan actually thanked me on Friday for just asking for a photo with him because people were having him sign so much stuff. Like they were obvious resellers. They would come up with like pages and pages of like the same picture of him like mid spin because spin and win was the theme of the 500 this
Yeah.
year. Um and it's like guys, like you could tell he was frustrated by it. And I came up and I'm like, "Hi, can I get a selfie?" He literally said, "Thank you for just getting a picture." And
Finally,
it was funny.
finally a normal person who doesn't want to
Yeah.
make money out of
Basically.
my signature.
Mhm. Yeah. Um and then on Friday they had the Weenie 500. That was crazy. Like the stands were possibly like more full for that than they were for the final practice. Like it was crazy. The whole garage area cleared out. Everyone went to the stands. Like everybody wanted to watch that thing. And it was hilarious. I don't know if everybody saw it on the broadcast, but like instead of rising for the national anthem, we rose for the Oscar Mayer Wiener song.
No, the best
And
part
like
about like the broadcast element of that is like I couldn't watch it because I was at another race at the time, and like at work and stuff for everything going on this weekend, so it was hard to watch things. But there was like a clip I saw where like people were watching it and they like stood, I think it was like a podcast, expecting the national anthem and like took their hats off and everything, and then like that started, everyone was like, oh, never mind.
because you couldn't hear it at the track. All you heard was "please rise," because I think they may have said like "rise, remove your hats, and put your hands over your stomach instead of your heart," is what I think I saw when I watched it. But all you could hear at the track was like the "please rise," so I think everybody figured it was going to be the national anthem. And then it was like a really serious rendition of the Oscar Mayer Wiener song, which was incredible. Like I know there's some like old boring people that are like, this is not what we lost the Freedom 100 for, and no, it's possibly better. The race, like an Indy Next race, would be fun as well, but I think seeing Weenie Mobiles doing 2 laps around the track was extra fun.
Yeah, and well, I mean the commentary was the icing on the cake.
I need to go back and watch it because everyone said that the commentators kept like a complete straight face and were being entirely serious about it the whole time. Because we
They
couldn't
were
hear that at the track.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
no. All I know is I learned from this that there are way more different types of hot dogs than I thought there were.
Right?
Like, what is a Seattle dog?
They explained to us what all of them were, and I still don't remember.
Like,
Yeah.
hot dog is hot dog.
Right? Like,
yeah,
what about just a hot dog? Like, I think
yeah,
they need a seventh Wienermobile that's just like
classic.
plain. Yeah, like maybe with a bun and a hot dog. And
Yeah.
nothing else crazy. My dog thought I was talking to him when I said dog. He sat up and looked at me. And so that was pretty much everything from Friday. Saturday at IMS's Legends Day. But the like big thing there is the autograph session. So um if you have a bronze badge, which is just something you can buy when you get your ticket. You can get in the track an hour early on Saturday. And basically, that's one of the only ways, or the only way, to guarantee you get in the autograph line you want. Because if you've been to other IndyCar races, it's not the same. It's not like a half field autograph session, or like an out at the back of the trucks autograph session. It is, you pick one row of the starting grid and you get in that line. If you're in a line early enough, you might be able to get in a second line if the second line's short. But I chose the line that had Alex Rossi, Connor Daly, and Scott McLaughlin in it. That line, I was probably like 10th in line, so I was able to get in a second line too. But I, was able to talk with all of them a little bit. I asked Scotty Mack what he thought about testing the 963, and he immediately was like, it was cool, but it was not my favorite car to drive. It was not like, didn't love it. And so,
which is like different from what he said at St. Pete.
Maybe he's had more time to reflect on it.
Maybe.
And like, and this is, just, it was surprising that he said he didn't really like it. So I asked him, I was like, so we probably don't have a Daytona run with Porsche Penske in your future? And he's like, oh no, I want to do Daytona if they'll let me. So whose car do we want to see him in at Daytona next year, guys?
Well, he tested with this.
He did test with the 6.
So, also, if I had to pick, if in this situation it's Scotty Mack or Joseph Newgarden,
I don't think the option is Scotty Mack or Joseph Newgarden, though. Like,
I'm just saying,
I don't think they're sticking Joseph in a 963 again. Let's just be honest.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
But if for some reason
I
they
think
do,
that they would bring over one of the WEC guys for whichever car Scotty wasn't in.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if for some silly reason they did again, I would prefer to have Scotty Mack than Joseph.
Well, yes, obviously.
So.
Okay, we can't all say yes, Aries. You like a different car than we do.
Yeah.
No, but yes, but you see, I've had the experience of a fourth guy who did 2 stints and then said, "Oh yes, I won the race."
Okay, I also had that experience.
Yes, because the two of you liked the same car last year.
So you can't use that argument.
But who knows that the lineups will even be the same next year?
Hey. Don't say that. Don't have me spiral.
Saying, I think that it would be enjoyable to have Matt and Scotty in the same car.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's, regardless of what number car it is, that's actually what I want to see. Yes. But Scotty did have this nice card with his, car and everything, or that didn't, actually get to really do the race, but that's okay.
That threw me for a loop. I thought, I'm not seeing this.
I felt genuinely bad when they were showing him up on the screen, and he was just like crouched down in the grass. I was I feel bad for this guy. It was.
Indeed.
So then also in that line were Alex Rossi and Connor Daly, and I'm trying to quickly pull up my picture for the story. Here it is. So I have a picture with Alex Rossi from when he was in Formula One, and I showed it to him, and immediately he was like, wow, look at us. And then Connor leans over and he's like, wait, let me see that. Oh, I think I was at that race. That's Coda. And because you can see the tower in the background, like kind of behind Alex's head. And I was like, yeah, it was. And he's like, that's my favorite former F1 driver right there, Alex Rossi. And I just chatted with them. When I told my dad, like, all these stories, he's like, were the people behind you, like, annoyed that you were just chatting with the drivers? And I'm like, no, because we were, like, way up at the front of the line, so no one was worried about, like, making it through the line before it closed. But because that line, we were so, like, we were the 10th or whatever people in line, we were able to go through a second line, which was Kiffin Simpson, Ed Carpenter, and Santino Ferrucci. And yes, I'm sorry, Kiffin, you know I'm a fan, but you're a really awkward boy and you got to work on that.
And Ari's enemy in Ed Carpenter.
Yes, but the thing is, Ari's enemy might be a fan. So
Ooh, that's gonna be a conflict.
sorry, Ari, but your enemy might be a fan. Because I had on my Orange Flag Podcast t-shirt, and he was like, Orange Flag Podcast. Why Orange Flag? And I'm like, well, you know, orange flag's not like a real flag in racing. So, and he's like, no, why orange? And I'm like, well, you see, I'm a Dixon fan. And he's like, I knew it was going to be because you were a Dixon fan. And I was like, sorry. Like, I like your team too. And I was like, and one of my co-hosts is a McLaren fan. And he's like, I knew it was either going to be Dixon or McLaren, but I thought you were going to be a Dixon fan. So how did Ed Carpenter clock me as a Scott Dixon fan? I had nothing Scott Dixon on. Like, I didn't have
I know what
any
it
of
is.
my
Gingers
pins.
have to stick together.
Because I'm a ginger.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Okay,
that.
but like, there's a bunch of other gingers.
Yeah, but orange paired with ginger, I feel like that's the connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
it's
but
a natural
I also
combination.
got
Yeah.
I got a new selfie with Ed because I got one with him at St. Pete, but that was when he was like being an owner, and
Yeah.
this is him being a driver. And I said that to him. I'm like, yeah, I got one with you at St. Pete, but like, you know, you're driving now. And he's like, oh no, two totally different personalities. You have to get a second selfie. Sorry, Ari, but Ed Carpenter might be one of the best personalities in the paddock. Like,
That sound you just
I
heard
apologize
was
for this tragic news, but it
that
might
sound
be true.
that sound you just heard was Ari groaning in frustration.
Oh.
And then that was really all on Saturday. Sunday, I hope everybody's seen the race by now. If you
I would-
didn't, Alex
would
Pillow won. Good job, Alex. Yay.
Yay.
Perhaps it's because we used Shiny Alex before we started,
No,
videoing this.
I think it's also like last episode we literally flat out were like, he's not gonna win on an oval, or at least I was like,
right.
and then he was like, gotta show him.
Yeah. My seats are pretty much like one or two sections over from the Yard of Bricks and pretty much directly across from the platform where they do the whole celebration with the wreath and the milk. So I was able to see all that happening. When they had Pillow fill out his little what kind of milk card do you want, he said that he wanted them to bring milk for his daughter, and they brought that, and I thought that was like the best thing ever.
Yeah. I'm still disappointed he didn't pour the milk on himself, so we missed that, but like the daughter aspect of giving his kid like a tiny little milk bottle was very cute.
Yeah. And then today for his day after photos, they brought a tiny wreath for his daughter. That was so cute.
That was
Like,
great to see, actually.
It was very, very cute. And then I talked to a few people in the garage area after the race, and like this has come out now in the media, so I don't have any issues saying where it came from and who I was talking with. I was talking with Ryan Hunter-Ray, and he was like, yeah, everyone thinks that I just stalled on that last stop, but no, they had me go one lap too long, and I ran out of fuel, and then like really ran out of fuel and got air in the lines, and that's why it stalled, because they needed to like get the car completely running again, and that's just was really a bad situation, because he said that there was no reason for them to do that. Had they stopped one lap earlier, he still would have come out in front of so those lapped cars that everyone's talking about would have actually been lapped cars. He would have come out in front of them based on their predictions had they pitted him one lap earlier than he did, and he would have absolutely run away with that win.
Yeah.
So he was understandably really upset about that.
That brings
Yeah.
me, makes me think of I think that's what happened in the very Indy 500 that Hunter Ray actually won back in 2014 with Tony Kanaan, because I remember Chip Ganassi had him run one lap longer than he needed to, and then he came into the pits and he was running dry. He was completely dry, and then he was unable to finish. I was so frustrated back then. That was 11 years ago, and I still remember being frustrated.
Yeah, understandably for you.
Yes.
Because we know about your nationalism.
You know.
He was the defending champion.
And then I was talking with a team member from another team, and they basically insinuated that every team in the entire series is pushing the limits when it comes to the spec parts. So, like, obviously, Penske got caught, Andretti got caught, and Prema got caught.
Yes.
I think we're going to see a lot more disqualifications coming up as they do random spec part checks in future races.
Controversy.
I think now, because of what happened with Penske, it's just going to be like a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm. And, like, that's still just a rumor. It's not like I had somebody say, you know, oh, yeah, this is the part on this car that we're cheating with. Like, no, it was just like, you know, a lot of people in the paddock were really scrambling after, and it's not even like they implied that their team was doing it. It was just a lot of people were really scrambling after that Penske thing happened. So,
yeah.
I think it's just kind of an open secret there in the paddock.
Yeah. I think it also is just like assumed, like everyone's going to push the limits.
And then this is, I will say, a very strong rumor from a source that I 100% trust on it. Thermal will not be on the calendar next year, and it will be replaced by Mexico City.
IndyCar making sensible calendar
calling
decisions.
that an Orange Flag podcast exclusive. Not going to say who I heard that from, but it is someone that I truly believe would not have incorrect information about that. So,
gimme.
Mexico City.
Gimme a proper racetrack.
Thermal's just terrible. Like it
sucks.
Thermal is pretty bad.
Give me a proper calendar again.
Yeah. And then a funny story, my friends that I was there with, they asked ChatGPT on the way to the track who was going to win the race. And, you know, like, ChatGPT is supposed to be, like, 18 months behind on accurate information and stuff, and not be able to do, like, sports betting predictions, essentially.
Yes.
And it said it was going to come down to Palou and Ericsson for the win.
Scary, y'all.
Yeah.
Kill it.
And then obviously Ericsson got disqualified, but at the time, that was like, as they crossed the line, it did come down to Palou and Ericsson.
Well, they did cross the line, because, you know, I was watching on the broadcast, and then they cut away from it, and at the last possible second. So, whoopee, if you were not at the track with a view of the finish line, you were not able to see Alex Palou win in real time.
I got a really crappy video of it, because, like, it occurred to me as he was, like, almost passing me, oh, maybe I should video this. Because, like, I forget to take a lot of pictures and videos, like, in race, because I'm watching the race, right? Like,
as you should.
With sports car racing, like endurance races, stuff like that, it's a little easier because, like, walk around, go to different places. You have 6 hours, 4 hours, however many hours to go.
24.
24, 12, 10.
10.
Lots of hours depending on the race to go wander around to different locations. For this, it was kind of sit in the seats and watch the race. I, watching and, turning to watch, and then I noticed as I'm turning to, like, see the checkered flags get out, I'm like, oh crap, he grabbed a yellow. What's going on? Because he had both of the checkered flags in his hand, and then someone basically, I guess, told him, or, hey, you gotta get, and then he starts waving the yellow, and I'm like, what happened? And then that's when Pillow went by. But, like, I did see Pillow cross the line, which I guess is more than TV viewers got, but
Oh, that
I
was
wanted to,
so frustrating. I thought I didn't
yeah.
even. How do you. Who's directing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a real miss from Fox, for, a broadcast that broke recent records for viewership and everything. It sounds like
Exactly.
they did have some misses. I didn't watch the broadcast, so I don't know what those misses were, but
Oh,
apparently there were some pretty big ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Timing tower was the timing tower was the usual. Saw the usual complaints, and then there was some weird shuffling of the order, even though there was no overtaking. Like sometimes someone would really
So
drop to the
that was
bottom of
happening
the.
at the track too.
Oh,
On the actual scoring pylon, as well as at the top of the pagoda, that was happening at the track too. They were just, like, shuffling around the top 5 with no on-track changes happening.
Yeah.
So I think that was actual issues with IndyCar timing and scoring, not so much the broadcast.
that would make
That
sense then.
Because
Yeah.
we would notice that. We'd see, like, all of a sudden, David Malukas would be in 5th, and then he'd be in 3rd, and then it's like, whoa, what's going on? And then, you see on the Jumbotron, nothing's going on. Timing and scoring is just messed up. So that's something. I mean, like, I think I mentioned when I was at the NASCAR race, I talked to a guy who was in productions with Fox, and he said that there's some issues with Penske Entertainment and Fox kind of merging the information with the broadcast, and maybe that's some of those issues. If you're getting unreliable or bad feed, you can't create a good broadcast. So
Yeah.
there's only so much they can do, but he did say they'd have it all fixed for the 500, and clearly they did not. So
No.
No.
Definitely didn't.
and then post race, entirely post race, kind of today. I don't know what is going on in Pato O'Ward's head to make him say some of the stuff that he's been saying. He's got some of the worst case of main character issues I've ever seen from a racing driver. I want the kid from Indy Lights that I supported back,
Yeah.
and not whoever this man-child he's turned into is.
I feel like
Because I'd really
even
like to be able
last-
to start supporting Pato again.
Yeah, I feel like even last season he wasn't as bad as he
No,
is this
he thinks
season.
he deserves stuff.
Like,
Genuinely, it seems like he thinks he deserves things. He said that Marcus Ericsson choked, and it's like, come on, Pato. Like, you have admitted that you jumped too soon on the pass on Newgarden last year. I believe that's kind of the definition of choking.
literally.
Pretty
Pretty much.
you made your move too soon. Had you waited a corner later, you probably would, be an Indy 500 winner right
Mhm.
now, and maybe not have this weird chip on your shoulder. And then in
I don't
his
think he's.
team debrief, which I do not know how the team posted this. He said it was the worst Indy 500 he's ever been a part of. It was a boring race. Like, what is wrong with you, Arrow McLaren? How are you posting that?
Well, like, my thing about that video too is, so Arrow McLaren for every race does like the race debrief afterwards with like all three of the drivers usually, and Tony, like TK. And they're like talking basically about like their finishes and like their feelings on the race. You could obviously tell in this one that like Nolan and Christian are listening to what Pato's saying and just like don't agree with him at all. Cause they're both looking at him like, what the hell? It was like, you could
Yeah.
tell it was just like super awkward even within like just that grouping as well.
I
Yeah.
thought it was like gonna be a joke. Like, it wasn't, or at least if it was very poorly done, because I will say the stuff that he said after that was like really good. Like, hey, we were hoping there was another safety car or another yellow so that we could cycle up to the front. You know, had there been one more caution, we might have been able to win. Like, that was a good debrief. You know, thinking like figuring out where their heads were strategy wise. But I don't understand all of his complaining. It it's not something that makes me want to support him.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's also not the first video I've seen like post 500 that he's been complaining about. I've gotten every finish in like the top 5 of all the IndyCar 500s that I've like all the Indianapolis
Yeah.
500s I've done, and I just haven't gotten the win yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Which, like, yeah, he's run at the front a lot, but a lot of people have run at the front a lot and not won.
it's
You know,
just
and I don't think that this attitude is really what is going to help him win.
no. It's, at least in my opinion, it's very much so reminding me of Joseph Newgarden and how he like tried to change like everything he did of basically cutting off everyone in hopes that that would like help him be better, and then he wasn't better
Yeah,
as a
lock in.
result of like making these changes. It's very much so giving that to me.
The problem is Pato now sits P2 in the standings, so in his mind it probably is helping him be better. So, I don't know, that really, it bothers me. Like, his whole attitude all year, and it really does feel like it's a new thing to this year,
Mm-hmm.
has
Yeah.
bothered me. And I talked with a lot of people at the track, and I'd say, you know, everybody who is what I might classify as an adult was like, you know, I'd really like to see Pato mature a little bit. And I think that's probably the overwhelming opinion with IndyCar fans, is it would be nice to see Pato mature, because he's stuck in this weird, he's not like a quirky 21, 22-year-old kid who's an up and comer anymore. Like,
No.
bro,
No.
you're a title contender. You're a race winner. You're a like serious driver.
The
Act
thing
like
is,
a serious driver.
Supposedly
the Arrow
serious.
McLaren like account literally posted like each one of their drivers for like the 500, like with their race suits and everything, and literally the caption on the post for Pato was like 500 veteran. Like, on the team,
Yeah.
he is the veteran
Right.
of the team. He is not acting at all like the veteran of the team. If anyone's acting like the veteran of the team, it's the guy who's been there the least amount of time.
We've been through this before. Indeed it is.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Pato's attitude is not winning him any favors with the Speedway as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially,
Yeah.
you know, it's a sentient being. And it's not gonna let you win if you keep on acting like you deserve to.
Very true. You could also say the Speedway maybe doesn't like a certain NASCAR driver either, it seems like.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh, yeah.
speaking of, we'll now switch over to the other side of the double, and we're gonna go over to Charlotte and to the 600. So I went for Saturday and Sunday, I flew in like really early Saturday morning, and then I was there for Xfinity and Cup for those 2 days. Really interesting thing about the 600 is the aspect of the fan zone, which it's very different than any race I've been to, where you don't need a ticket really to get the experience of like the fan zone. It is literally open to the public. Anyone can go. And that's like where a lot of people meet drivers and everything like that. So like all the merch haulers, everything, that's just out front. And
Yeah,
that's where like,
TMS is like that too. As
yeah,
long as you have to walk into the track, but TMS, the fan zone, is
yeah,
outside the gates, which is really cool.
yeah. Like this, we didn't even really have to walk into the track. Like it was just like right on the outside, basically, like before even parking or anything. So which is nice about NASCAR is like that aspect of it, but especially for such a bigger race for NASCAR. Like this they call like the crown jewel. So it's nice to even see like such a big race in NASCAR have this aspect to it. So when I got there to the track, to the fan zone area, was when Jimmy Johnson was doing his interview, which he's talked about some of this on the broadcast, but they were basically asking him about doing like the 500 with Tom Brady and what his goals were for this, and his two goals of it being to make Tom Brady throw up and then soil himself, which he said on the broadcast. The aspect he left out that he told us is apparently Tom Brady gets very car sick. And he also had a whole strategy like planned out for this, that he didn't want to like catch the field too quickly, so he was going to go very slowly and then just all of a sudden to really throw Tom Brady off just like full speed, to hope he achieved his goals. He did not achieve his goals,
Yeah.
but that was his hope. It did not work out in his favor, but it was interesting to hear like the extra little aspects that he didn't say on the broadcast about what his plan was. So that was interesting. Another thing about the fan zone on Sunday before the race was they had an auction going off, and it was Ross Chastain and Ryan Blaney were like part of this auction, and they both were auctioneers. It was great. It was very funny. But probably the funniest part is Ryan Blaney's like auctioning off like some of his like merchandising and everything, like clothes and stuff that he signed. And it's like Ryan Blaney makes a joke about like being able to sneak into like the team personnel by like wearing the shirt that they're auctioning off. And Ross Chastain's like, they probably won't allow them in the pit crew, like making jokes basically referencing back to IndyCar and what happened this weekend. And Ryan Blaney handled it very well. There's videos on TikTok if you want to find it.
Yeah, Blaney basically, in the video I saw, he was like, yeah, maybe not for IndyCar, like, my shirt might be a little too streamlined here at the back. Like, he was full on leaning into
Yeah.
the jokes, which we'll see how the team feels about that.
Yeah.
But
it was great. It was really funny. And nice to see like the guys be able to like joke around about that news as well. Because obviously it was very recent news at the time. So now we'll get into the actual race aspect of Xfinity. Lots of things happened for the race. One thing was for Carson Quapple, they kept saying this was his first ever Xfinity race. They meant his first ever 600, but every time they talked about him during the race, they were like, look at him in his first ever Xfinity race. And I was like, he is a full-time driver.
yeah, that's a little bad, because it's
this-
not even like he's somebody
No,
doing
girl.
like a one-off for
Yeah.
this. Like, he is a full season Xfinity driver.
Yeah, so I was like, I get that you're definitely meaning like 600, well, not 600, but like this part of the weekend, like this weekend aspect of Xfinity. But like, it was really irking me because I was like, this is a full season guy. Like last season, he like did a few like one-off races here and there. I would get it if it was last season, but it's this season, and it was very much so irking me. Another thing was before the race, they did like their interviews with all the drivers. Justin Allgaier, it was his daughter Willow's birthday for the race, and her ask of a gift of what she wanted for the race was for her dad to win and get a trophy, and then a party in Victory Lane, which if you watched the Xfinity race, you would know he was very close to that, and then in the end, didn't get it, and his interview afterwards was very depressing because he just kept saying how he disappointed her and let her down. Yeah, it was very sad. But I personally really liked the Xfinity race result because we had a great 1-2 finish. If you like the drivers that I like, which are that William Byron and Connor Zilisch were 1-2, and also this was William Byron's home race. So great to be able to see a guy win at home. The crowd, obviously, understandably, was like very much so behind Byron.
Isn't this like half of NASCAR's home race?
Well, but like William was actually from Charlotte. Like it's different in the aspect like he's actually from Charlotte. That's why he's a Hurricanes fan.
Yes.
You know, for hockey. Yes, it's very important that everyone knows this, okay? But yeah, I had for the race, I pulled a Dana, I made a jacket. One side being the 87, so Connor. The other side being the 24. Wore it for the race for Xfinity, so it was very fitting that they got a 1-2.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was great. So now we'll switch over to Sunday to Cup. And before the race, if you had like the wristband for it, they have access to like the track where you can just like walk the track, go like near the pits and everything and all of that. So I had that access. So I was able to be down there for driver intros, for everybody like going to their cars, getting into their cars, and all of the like pre-race stuff. So like our concerts and all of the other military stuff they did before the race, because obviously Memorial Day weekend. So that's a big part of the race. So I went and stood by the 87 car for obvious reasons. I went to this race purely because Connor was doing this race and wanted to be there for one of his Cup Series starts. So I went and stood by that car, and I was just like chatting with the people around me who were also Connor fans, but also chatting with the like team personnel, like so a bunch of the 87 crew guys, and then just like the officials that were there too. And I was wearing my jacket, and one of the officials like noticed it. We were chatting. He was like, I'll get you to be able to meet Connor. And so it's getting like towards the end of when we have to like all go back to our seats. And he like comes up to me and he's like, jump the barrier. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, jump the concrete barrier right now. And I was like, okay. So I jumped the barrier, and he brought me over to like the car, and I got to meet Connor and get my photo taken, but also he signed the jacket and we talked about all of that as well. So that was like a pretty cool, fun experience of just like what can happen if you just talk to people around the area who work at the track as well, is like you get to have like fun experiences like that. So if you're going to a race, like don't feel like you can't talk to people. You never know what can happen as a result of it.
Yeah, I'm using you two your experiences. I'm writing mental notes too for a what to do and what not to do when it's my turn.
Yes.
Yes, yes. We'll give a crash course, you know. But the actual race itself was very chaotic, as NASCAR is. This was Jimmy Johnson's 700th race start in NASCAR, which is very interesting. Which, despite that like big accomplishment, no one was talking about it. The merchandise that like Hendrick was selling for it on their website wasn't at the track. Jimmy's like team didn't have like any merchandise at all at the track. So like if you didn't know that it was his 700th like start, you wouldn't know, it felt like, which was interesting.
Think to him it's just another race though, so that may have been because he kind of like in a couple interviews sort of said that like people think this is going to be my last race, people think this is some big deal, and like no, it's just another race, I'm going to do more races, like so it may have been by his choice that this wasn't like he can't stop Hendrick from selling stuff, but he can tell his team that he literally owns, hey, we are not wearing anything special for this race.
Yeah. I will say, like, people after the fact, mainly, like, drivers after the fact, like, were, like, talking about it. So, like, Connor Zilish with his, like, whole, like, I did the 600 for the first time post, like, his, like, thing, his photo was literally with Jimmy, like, talking about, like, how Jimmy was literally his idol. And everything. So, like, after the fact, you definitely had, like, drivers who looked up to Jimmy and everything definitely talking about it. But during the race, not really as much of a thing. So, that was interesting. Another thing that happened in the race that I felt like was one of, like, the biggest talking points I've seen is Carson Hocevar was, like, came from nowhere. Like, he was in the back of the field, and then just kind of showed up at the front of the field, and it was a restart, and he's starting in the front, and everyone's, like, getting excited at the possibility that, like, Carson could lead this race. I feel like everyone just likes, the Chili's car. And all the restart happens. Yes, ride the Dente, which every time that car passed in my head, I just kept saying, ride the Dente, like the commercial. I don't know why, but it was stuck in my head. And so the restart happens, and just all of a sudden, we're just like seeing his car just like fall back, fall back, fall back, fall back, and then just hit the wall. And everyone was like, what happened? Because it was like hard to tell. They weren't showing a replay really of it like close up at the track until like a while later, and then everyone was like, oh, his engine, like it just like went to hell basically. And he did an interview afterwards, and there was like no signs for them that like that was gonna happen or anything, but like really unfortunate because like he was having such a great race, and he wasn't the only one that had a great race of coming from nowhere to somewhere. And the fact that I don't think anyone expected Ross Chastain to win the race because he started in 40th. And he too just kind of like slowly appeared towards the front of the field, and then at the last minutes is passing William Byron to get the win. So I get to say that I have officially seen a watermelon smash in person, and it's great. I obviously didn't get to see the broadcast because I was at the track, so I don't know what they did or didn't show. I did hear that it was apparently a great broadcast, but his celebration for like the win was amazing. So he drove like right past the section I was sitting in, turns the car around, drives the entire track in reverse, like backwards, then does his burnout, and then they brought out the watermelon, and then they smashed it. And for every interview, this is no longer the Coca-Cola 600, it's now the World 600. So that was interesting. Also, controversy as well, and the fact that a fan got like to Ross Chastain's car, and Ross thought this guy was just like congratulating him and like touching him on the head as like a good job, Pat. No, it was a I'm gonna grab your hat and run away with your hat celebration. Which Ross Chastain apparently takes his race win hats very seriously. And they made sure he got his hat back, and he did have it
Yeah, I
back
saw
for his
that he
interview.
collects them. Like,
Yes.
they're not just, oh, I have a hat and whatever. Like, he actually like has a collection of all his race win hats. So
Yes.
that's good that he got it back.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
drive with him. So he takes them very seriously. So it was just good to see that he got it back. Was apparently very dirty though, as a result. Yes.
Yeah, the calling the race the World 600 got me a bit confused. Oh, I thought, why are they using the old name for it all of a sudden? Like, because I know, I've done my research, I know that was like the old name from all the way back, but why did they bring it back all of a sudden?
It was
No idea.
just Ross. Like it was just Ross that kept saying the World 600, and everyone was like, okay. Like,
is he unable to say Coca-Cola for a reason?
I don't see why he would. Like his drink sponsorship that he has is beer. It's not soda. So
yeah. I was just wondering if, like, I don't know, Bush doesn't want him promoting Coca-Cola for some reason.
I don't know. Because then later on, like in other interviews, he did correct himself and like started saying the Coca-Cola 600. So like he did
eventually
correct himself. But it was just like multiple times of the World 600, and all of us were just like, what?
What? I was gonna say,
I did not watch any of that race, so I didn't see any of this on the broadcast.
Yeah.
I was way too tired, so I didn't watch it either. I was wondering here, did he not want his vintage Coke machine? So that's why he was not mentioning Coca-Cola?
That was another thing they were like talking about like at the track. So once again, don't know if this was mentioned on the broadcast. Was like how many guys have like the vintage Coke machines and what they all do with their vintage Coke machines. And I can't remember who it was, but one of the drivers apparently has just like a stack of like coins next to his vintage Coke machine so that he can actually use the vintage Coke machine. Another is in like their mom's house. So they all have like different places.
It's a good thing that like these NASCAR drivers all have like giant mansions in Carolinas, because like NASCAR gives out some weird things instead of trophies, man. Like, what are you supposed to do with a Coke machine and a grandfather clock? Like,
so the Coke machine is in addition to the trophy.
Yeah.
And Ross Chastain almost dropped
give you
the
a
trophy.
Coke machine.
Yes.
Like,
that's just NASCAR.
What if you don't have space? I know. It's quirky. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah. I went to the Hendrick Museum also on Friday before I went over to like Xfinity and everything. And got to see everything there, and like the grandfather clocks that are there, and like all the different trophies and everything. So that was cool. Seeing all the like old cars as well was very interesting. Lots of flame car, lots of rainbow car, lots of Jimmy Johnson as well, obviously. So
they have the Garage 56 car there.
Yes, of course.
I don't know. Sometimes it goes to France. Like sometimes it is in museums over in France. So it's a traveling car.
Yes, well, It was there.
It was there when you were there.
Yes, it was there.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Great.
It heard I was coming.
Very important.
Yes, very important.
Yeah.
It was like I opened the door to the museum and it was right there.
Fantastic.
So
we are, after all, a sports car podcast.
Exactly.
Indeed. If we ignore the fact that this episode was mostly about not sports cars, but that's just a one episode thing.
Yeah, but we started with sports cars and we ended with sports cars. Although not really, because, like I teased, we do have a special spotter stand with a spotter, because I did get a chance to interview Kyle Kirkwood's spotter, friend of the show, Jesse Vaughn. I am at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We have a special spotter stand segment today because we have a spotter. Introduce yourself or whatever.
So I'm Jesse Vaughn. I spot for Kyle Kirkwood. I'll be in turn 1 all month for the 500, and then I do all of his oval races. So, and then I spot for Dennis Hauger on the Indy next side as well.
And can you explain to us, like we're dumb, what a spotter does?
So the driver has limited visibility in any race car. They can really only look forward and see what's going on out the windshield or the aero screen. So their peripheral is really limited. So we're up there, and I can tell them, when we're passing somebody, if he's clear, if they're still there, anything that's going on the racetrack ahead of us, behind us, feeding them information from the box, whatever it needs. And then if I see someone doing something on track that's making them faster, I'll relay it to Kyle or Dennis. But it's mostly just keeping him safe as an extra set of eyes. I was in NASCAR for 15 years where they like constant information, where over here it's so fast and it's the more information with less words. So just an extra set of eyes, and then making sure he's safe from the time he leaves the pit box to the time he comes back in.
So there aren't any spotters on any road and street courses, just on ovals?
For Andretti, we don't use spotters on the road courses. Some teams do, but the ovals, it's primarily everybody has one spotter. Here we have 2. I've got a guy in turn 3 that was actually Kyle's driver coach when he was coming up through the Formula cars. So we worked together at the test in April and clicked right away as far as our handoffs and our lingo and stuff. So it's been pretty solid all month long. But yeah, as far as road courses and street courses, because stuff is happening so fast and you can only see part of the racetrack, it's really just the ovals that we use the spotters for.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And now Spotter Stand is actually about spotters.
Awesome. Thank you.
Jesse is also a member of Chaos Crew and got his Chaos Crew bracelet, which he posted a picture up on the actual Spotters Stand representing Chaos Crew, which, like, our goofy little joke group of people was on a Spotters Stand at the Indianapolis 500. Like, that is peak.
Oh yeah. We've reached peak, guys. I don't know where we go from here.
We have made it.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Orange Flag Pod. On Twitter, Nicole is at Cars on the Street, Auston is at Hendrick Claren, and Aries is at Aries_Alpenglow.
Stay orange.